So lactofermentation works because of a good bacteria called lactobacillus that lives on the outsides of fruits and vegetables on the skin. So lactobacillus, the bacteria, consumes the sugars that are on the outside of the fruits and vegetables, and the byproduct of that is lactic acid. And it's that lactic acid that preserves the food. And the cool thing about that whole process is that it gives the peppers, in our case, a really nice developed flavor. You're gonna get a flavor off of this hot sauce that you just cannot mimic anywhere else. There's not a ton of ingredients in this. I have 4 ingredients, like that's it. I have 2 orange bell peppers. I'm using around 30 habanero peppers. You're gonna throw in some garlic, and then all you need is fine sea salt. So my go-to salt when I'm fermenting, whether I'm making a brine or making a pepper mash, is fine sea salt. Just 100% salt, not iodized, no anti-caking agents, no preservatives. Fine sea salt works the best because I found that it dissolves the best whether you're making a pepper mash or a brine ferment. Before we do start fermenting, you want to give these a nice quick rinse under cold running water, let them air dry, and then you're really ready to rip. These habanero peppers are just store-bought ones. The very first pepper mash hot sauce I used, my homegrown red habanero peppers. I threw some cayenne peppers in there that were homegrown, and then some of my Tabasco peppers too. That resulted in a really, really tasty sauce. This is the sauce that I made a few months ago. This one's tasty, dude. Very spicy though. Very, very, very spicy. Whew. Good stuff. This will really work with any kind of peppers. My favorite happen to be habanero peppers. And then non-spicy peppers, I really love these orange bell peppers. They have such a great, just fruity flavor to them. They have a nice, just amount of natural sugar content in them. They're delicious. Overall, the flavor profile is just beautiful, yeah? Amongst the spicy peppers, I love habanero peppers. Not as good as my homegrown peppers, but you know, it is what it is. It's cold and it's not growing season whatsoever. So store-bought orange habanero peppers is what I have to work with today. Remove the stems from the peppers, cut them in half, put them into a bowl. I recommend wearing rubber gloves when you're handling hot peppers. If you're super sensitive to capsaicin, definitely habanero peppers too. If you get any kind of juice on your hands and then rub your eyes, you're gonna have a bad day. It burns. So somebody told me, I have yet to prove the theory, but somebody told me, you know, like that soap the mechanics use, that orange, it's like an orange color to it. It's like thick and it has grittiness in it. I heard that removes the capsaicin, which is basically just the oil off your hands. So if you're handling hot peppers and then you wash your hands with this, I'm gonna call it mechanic soap, then it really eliminates any kind of spiciness that's on your hands, yeah? I'm gonna test that theory and I'll get back to you on that. A really good fresh solid pepper should just, that stem should yank off there pretty easily. So I'm gonna have a bowl for scraps, toss in the compost, yeah? Okay, so get yourself a very, very sharp knife. And after cutting the peppers in half, I do like to check to make sure that the inside of them are looking pretty good. It's not moldy, not rotten. I like to see that the seeds are nice and fresh and white. The spice from peppers comes from the placenta itself, not the seeds. Removing the seeds isn't gonna necessarily remove heat from the pepper. I love bench scrapers. Probably one of my favorite tools that I use in the kitchen. Orange bell pepper, stand it upright, cut the sections off. These are kind of small garlic cloves, so I'm gonna go with 5 of them. Okay, so we have 30 habaneros, 2 orange bell peppers, 5 cloves of garlic. So there's really not any way around this. I mean, having a food processor will make your life so much easier. You're gonna be able to blitz this in like 30 seconds, if that. Looks like a lot. I mean, you have a lot of peppers. You're gonna see what I mean by you can have a vast amount of peppers and it breaks down to a much smaller amount. The hot sauce itself is nice and concentrated. The flavor on it's really concentrated and it has a good amount of spice to it. I mean, you see how much quicker that was. If you're doing that by hand, that's gonna take you solid 30 minutes to chop all those that fine. We need to weigh out this mash to get a salt percentage. So digital scale, set it to grams. Put a bowl on there, tare it. Basically means 0 to scale out. Smells good, smells spicy, smells sweet, smells garlicky. Love it. Habanero peppers are really good too. They have a nice floralness to them. Actually have a little bit of sweetness to them before that heat kicks in. Take this weight, which is 626 grams, and you wanna multiply that by 2% to get our amount of salt that we need. And you get 12.52 grams. My scale doesn't read decimal points, so round to the nearest whole numbers if yours doesn't. In this instance, I'm gonna bump it up to 13 grams. The whole point of the salt is to ward off any kind of bad bacteria. That's really it. And in our case, it's kind of helps season the peppers, yeah? So 13 grams of salt. You wanna do it in a separate dish like this, that way you don't add too much salt to that pepper mash. The salt will also draw liquid. Basically, it creates its own brine. Ideally, you want to leave about 1 inch of headroom. Less chance of mold growing if you leave less headroom. So I had this pepper mash fermenting for 1 month to the day. So if you have a big batch of peppers that you just harvested out of your garden, then making a pepper mash with them is a great way to use a big amount of peppers. So this jar right here, literally I had 37 habanero peppers and 2 orange bell peppers that really, once chopped down, went into this little 16-ounce mason jar. So if you really think about it, this is a 16-ounce mason jar, this is a 32-ounce mason jar. So you can only imagine how many peppers you're gonna be able to fit in a 32-ounce jar. Probably around, if I had to take a stab at it, if you're doing just all small peppers like habanero pepper, you could probably fit around 70 peppers in these. The smell is slightly sweet, acidic. I could definitely smell all those habanero peppers in there. It has like a little bit of a tingle on the back of the throat when you smell it because they're spicy peppers, right? It shouldn't have any kind of a foul smell to it whatsoever. It shouldn't smell rancid. It shouldn't have, you know, mold growing on top of it or anything like that. Nice and acidic, sweet smelling, kind of sour. Yeah, that's what you're looking for. Little fermentation bubbles in there still if you look at it closely. I had a lot of peppers in there too, so it's not surprising that this was able to ferment for 30 days and still have activity. Cool. The most exciting part of the whole process is finally get the taste of sauce. Oh my God. Ton of flavor up front, and then that spice kicks in. I love how smooth that sauce is. Straining is optional, depending on how good your blender is too. The consistency on it is perfect too, I love it. I like storing hot sauces in glass jars, that way it doesn't transfer flavors. Piece of parchment, like that. The acidity will actually eat away at the metal on the lid, so you want to have a barrier in between that. Parchment paper is that barrier. This is a very delicious sauce. That pH sat about 3.8 before I even add the vinegar to it, which probably lowered it to about 3.6. With that low of a pH on it, then it's gonna stay good in the refrigerator for many months, a year, maybe even longer. So you'll probably use it all by then now. Delicious tasting sauce, man. Lots of good body to it, lots of flavor. That fermentation process was spot on. One of my favorite ways to use the sauce is on eggs. I love fried eggs in the morning, and having a hot sauce on them, it just makes it so much better, dude. So I'm cooking the eggs in a stainless steel pan today. So a cool trick to know when you're cooking eggs in a stainless steel pan is letting it warm up thoroughly, good 5-6 minutes. And then cooking with room temperature eggs too really helps with that non-stick factor in the pan. An amazing sauce, man.